Wow, that is a lot of cement silver. Yeah, that is a heavy dish too. All the heavier because that stuff's wet. I'm gonna let it sit out here in the sun and start drying. See if we can get this stuff dried out so I can cast some bars out of it. Well, hello scrappers, Mike here. Welcome back to my channel. So what do we got going on today? Well, today we're going to continue working on all those little relay contacts I got from my friend Johnny in Finland. In the last video, which I'll put a link to in the upper right, we started dissolving his 4 pounds of silver relay contacts in nitric acid to clean them up. We found that there's a lot of gold in there as a byproduct, which is nice. But a lot of these contacts I was having trouble dissolving in dilute nitric acid, so I've started hitting them with concentrated nitric acid to try and dissolve as much of the silver out of them as I can and dissolve the base metals underneath the gold plating on a lot of them so I can release the gold plating. And who knows, anything that doesn't dissolve might just be platinum group metals or something else valuable. So let's get back to work on this and see if I can get these super resistant contacts to dissolve. And if not, figure out what they are. Plus release some more gold. Alright, we are back in the fume hood. I've got the remains of the bottom of this beaker in there. And I'm about to hit it with some more nitric acid. We're definitely getting a reaction. I mean, it's kind of muted. I wouldn't call that the sort of reaction I would expect from silver. Now, I'm thinking there's stainless steel in there. Yeah. We'll see what color the liquid goes. And maybe I'll test it for the presence of silver, see if we're actually getting any more silver out of it. Let me turn the heat down. I turned it on a little bit, but it's a little too high. So I'll just turn it off entirely and let that sit there until the reaction is done. And then we'll test it and see if there's still silver in it or not. Or if we're just dissolving more stainless steel. So this is what we're left with after that last nitric acid treatment. This is the stuff that absolutely will not dissolve in nitric acid alone. As you can see, there's still a fair amount of gold in there, but there's a fair amount of other stuff too. In fact, speaking of gold, I got some more gold out when I was doing the rinsing of this stuff, so the filter's looking pretty golden up here. There was a lot of gold in those relay contacts, Johnny, but there's a lot of something else here. I think I'm going to set this stuff aside for later processing and just concentrate on the silver. Yeah, see, there's still some shiny silvery metal in there too. So I don't know what it is. Maybe platinum, maybe iridium, who knows. Anyway, I'm going to concentrate on the silver, getting the silver out of this stuff. Now, that brings up a question. Do I want to mix this stuff with this stuff? I don't know. You know, the liquid I got off of the last 2 nitric acid extractions on this stuff was so dark in color, I don't really trust the stannous chloride tests I did on it. There could be palladium in there could be other stuff, and I just don't know. Or it could just be iron and nickel. Anyway, I'm thinking maybe do this stuff separately rather than mix it with this. I think there's too much to get it all in the same jug anyway, so I might do this separately. Let me wash some of the nastiness out of this filter up here. Clean up this gold a little bit and then set it aside. But the other filter's full of gold. Alright, so I think next we're going to work on recovering the silver from this. I'm just going to set this aside, and we may treat this with Aqua Regia and see what happens. But that'll be down the road. Alright, it's time to get Johnny's silver back. So I've got this nearly full gallon jug full of silver nitrate. We pour it into this very clean bucket. Oop, try not to splash it. I tell you, that is a heavy, dense liquid too. Wow. You might hear thunder in the background, but I think the storms are moving away. We had a bad storm not too long ago. Shut me down for a while, but we're back up and running again. Okay, so that's the blue silver nitrate solution. I think it's fairly pure. The blue is, of course, copper, so it's got some copper contamination. Then we've got this stuff over here, which I am not certain exactly what all it is contaminated with, but it is sort of a reddish brown color. I was afraid a precipitate might form, but it doesn't look like one has. So I'm going to do them separately, just in case something nasty happens with this reddish brown stuff. I have had nasty stuff happen with silver nitrate that looks like this, so we'll just do it separately. Okay, I'm going to try and capture this with the GoPro. So let me set the GoPro up and get it pointed at both containers here, and then we'll put the copper in and see what happens. Okay, so we got the copper in both of them. Look at that one go. That was immediate. I tried to get that on video with the GoPro here, but you know, it's doing a time lapse, so I don't know if that showed up, but just immediate after putting the copper in. The pipes were covered with cement silver, just immediate. And this thing over here, I don't know if it's showing up, but we're getting some tiny silvery crystals, very shiny, forming on there. So we'll let these both go for a while and see what happens. Clearly we're going to get a lot of silver out of that. The bulk of the silver is in that bucket. There's just a little bit in here, and I don't know, it's developing kind of weirdly. But we got a lot of contaminants in here, so. Alright, we'll just let it go for the next few hours. Actually, probably let it go overnight. I'll cover both of them and let them go overnight. Well, the stupid GoPro crapped out on me, so I guess we're not going to have a decent time lapse of what's going on here. But boy, are we creating a lot of silver in here. And I'll tell you what, these pipes, they've gotten very hot from the reaction as the copper's going into solution and the silver is cementing out. Over here, I don't know if you can see those spiky crystals that are forming on that in there, but we've got a completely different process going on over here. So yeah, weird. So I think I said earlier, I'm just going to let it go overnight. I'll cover them up to keep it clean, and we'll see what we've got in the morning. Well, here's an interesting development. It's been like, I don't know, an hour and a half maybe. I had the bucket covered to keep it clean. I came out here and I peeked under the cover. Copper pipes are gone. So, Yeah, well, I've got some more copper pipes over here. I'll put another couple in. I feel remnants of them down there. These might be too long to get the lid back on. But, well, that's about 4 pounds of silver there. I guess we're going to have to dissolve a lot of copper to get that much silver cemented out of solution. There might be a little excess nitric in here too. Although I tried not to over nitric this stuff. Speaking of that, this stuff over here, I'm thinking this stuff is where the excess nitric is, but we are getting, you know, a fair amount of silver plating out on that coil in there. This stuff's just so opaque you can't see it. But all that bubbling tells me, yeah, there's probably some excess nitric in there. Well, it's the next morning, and, well, the copper pipes are still here. Hey. Looks like we've got, ooh. Yeah, it feels like there's a thick layer of silver down on the bottom of this bucket. And maybe some remnants of the other copper pipes down there. Anyway, I saw some bubbling when I first took the lid off this thing. So I'm thinking maybe there's still a little bit of a reaction going on. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it could take over 24 hours for the reaction to complete. So I think I'll just cover it up and let it sit for a while longer. Maybe the rest of the day and into tomorrow. Before pulling the copper out and processing all the silver we got there. This one over here still has some bubbling going on too, although there's some, see it? So I'm going to leave this sit too. Sometimes the silver cementation process can take a while, especially if you've got some excess nitric in there. The silver tends to come out of solution, get dissolved back into solution, then come out again, and that goes over and over again until all the excess nitric's used up. Then it all finally comes out of solution once and for all. So I'll leave it for another day. Alrighty, it has been about 48 hours, and it looks like the reaction in here is done. I'm not sure what's going on in there. It's just too opaque to see what it looks like, how much silver is accumulated, whatever. So I guess we'll find out here in a little bit. Let me pull these copper pipes out and wash the silver off of them. Look how shiny that is. Got the inside too. Okay. Well, that is one rough looking surface too. Get that stuff to settle, and what I'll do is I will decant this liquid off, and we'll see just how much silver there is in the bottom of it. Now as for this, let me see if I can find the coil in there. Let me fish around a little bit with some forceps. Feel it. Oh my, look at that. That is a lot of silver, but it looks like dirty silver. Oh, it's stuck to the coil. It's not coming off. That's interesting. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm not sure what to do with that. I'm going to have to probably manhandle it and see if I can get the silver off the coil. But I'll tell you what, this looks like pretty dirty silver. But there were a lot of contaminants in this stuff. Yeah. There were a lot of contaminants. This is the later nitric acid extractions on the more resistant contacts that weren't dissolving in the dilute nitric acid. So I hit them with the straight nitric acid, and I think we dissolved a lot of stainless steel and maybe some other stuff. Got it in here. So this is some ugly looking silver. I'm not sure that I want to mix this with the other stuff. I might have to reprocess this. I don't know. It's pretty ugly. Wow. I never had silver stick to the copper like that before. Get it off my fingers, get it off this coil. Now I've got it all over my bench, but there we are. All right. I'll have to sweep this stuff up once it dries. All right, so what's the next step? Well, I'm going to decant this liquid off over here through a couple layers of paper towel in a colander into another bucket and try to leave the silver behind so I can wash it a few times and try and get this blue liquid out of it. Clean it up some. But the paper towel should catch any fine silver that comes over. Wow. Whoa, there's a lot of silver in there. I hope that's showing up. Holy crap, will you look at that? And there's some copper pipes down in there I need to pull out and rinse off. I'll do that, and I'll give this a few rinses and pour the water off through my makeshift filter down here. Capture any fine silver that comes across with it. Yeah, there's a piece of copper pipe. And, oh, that is ate up good. Anyway, I can include that filter paper when I melt the... Where's the other one? I saw it there. There's a piece. When I melt the silver down and make bars, I can include... That is paper thin. I can include the paper filter with it so we don't lose any silver. Wow, paper thin, yeah. Very shiny. Let's see. There's another piece or two in here. Wow, Johnny, it's a lot of silver. I got to get it cleaned up and dried out before I can melt it. I suppose I could put it in a crucible wet and then bring the heat up slowly to dry it out too. That's a possibility. I don't feel any more copper in here. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, and you don't have to watch it just to keep this video from being too long and boring, is I'm going to rinse this silver a few times until the water's not coming off blue anymore. I'll just dump about half a gallon of water in here, swish it around good, let it settle, and dump it off, and I'll just keep repeating that until the water's not coming off blue anymore. Then we should have some pretty good silver. As for this stuff, I'm going to dump it off, and I'll do the same to it. I'll give it all those rinses. And get rid of the blue. But that is some ugly looking silver. So I'm not sure I want to mix it with the stuff in the big bucket just yet. I I may want to do a further refining on that before I mix it. Look at it, got rust on the side of the beaker there. So we definitely dissolved some stainless steel, got iron and nickel and who knows what else in here. Probably some carbon, which might make it look so black. So yeah, that's some nasty looking stuff. This looks like fairly pure cement silver though, so I'm gonna work on cleaning this stuff up, and then we'll figure out what to do with the other stuff. Alrighty, so I've got the really dirty looking silver cleaned up, got the blue out of it. I'm still working on the big bucket of silver down here. It's draining between rinses, draining the blue stuff off. It's going to take a few more rinses to get that clean. Boy, there's a lot of silver in the bucket. That is heavy. I know it's a wet silver, but still, it's heavy. Alright, so I've got the dirty looking silver in here. So one thing I've done in the past to clean up dirty looking cement silver is I'm going to give it some boils in muriatic acid. Get the fume hood going. We'll put some muriatic acid on it. Wow, yeah, that turned a grungy color real quick, didn't it? Tasty. Alright, so let me get some heat on this and we'll get that boiling and see if we can clean that up. I'm hoping a few boils in muriatic acid will clean that up enough that I'll want to mix it with the rest of the silver, because I don't think I have enough nitric acid left. I'm not sure if I have enough nitric acid left to redissolve it. So my new nitric acid hasn't arrived yet. We'll try cleaning it up. Alright, let me get back to rinsing the big bucket of stuff here. It needs a few more rinses. Alright, we're on our second muriatic acid boil of this stuff. The first one, the liquid just came off black. This is actually a lot clearer, believe it or not. You may not show it on camera, but I can see that the liquid is not nearly as opaque. So we're removing stuff from this silver. That's exactly what I wanted to do. So I'll probably give it several more boils until, the liquid stays clear. And then I'll judge it probably to be clean enough to mix with the other silver. So here we are on the third muriatic acid boil. And as you can see, the liquid's only kind of amber colored. You can actually see the stir stick through it. So it is cleaning up. That's good news. Exactly what I wanted to see. Get all those contaminants out of it. I'll call it good enough to mix with the other silver. Which, by the way, I am still rinsing the blue color out of over here. I'm about done. I think we're about there. So after 4 boils in muriatic acid, this stuff's starting to look pretty good. It's starting to look like gray cement silver now. We've gotten a lot of that other contamination, who knows what, out of it. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. I think after this last muriatic acid boil, I'm going to give it a few boils in distilled water, and then we'll call it good, and we'll be able to add it to the other stuff, I think. Alright, so this stuff has had, 4 boils, I think it was, in muriatic acid, and several in distilled water. I'm trying to dry it out now. I've got the beaker tilted over like this, otherwise it would just spatter up out of the beaker as the water boils off. So this way it won't spatter out of it, in theory. It generally works for me. So we'll see if we can dry this stuff out. I don't know, I'm still kind of iffy on whether I want to mix it with the other stuff. Speaking of the other stuff, I've got it pretty clean and drained. So now I need to dry it out. So if you ever wondered why they call it cement silver, here you go. It looks like wet cement. Sitting out here drying in the sun. Pretty passable as wet cement, for sure. Alright, after sitting in the sun for a while, it dried out a little bit, but the sun's behind the trees now. Everything's in the shade over here at my lab, so I've got it up on the hot plate on lowish heat. We're just going to let it go overnight, and hopefully it'll dry out by morning. This stuff here has already dried out. This is some really chunky stuff, though. Tell you what, it's a lot coarser than this stuff, which is super fine. So I don't know. I'm still having second thoughts about combining them. I'll give it some more thought while I wait for this to dry out. Okay, it took about a day. You know, the sun and the wind started the process, but leaving this on the burner all night finally got it all dried out. And it's cooled down enough now that I can handle it. So we need to weigh it and see how much silver powder we've got here. It sure looks like a lot. It looks like a greater volume than the relay contacts I started with, which it probably is a greater volume just because there's more pieces here. Let's see if I can get it all in this Corningware dish. All right, so we're on the pounds. Let's see here. Sorry if I'm blocking the camera. I'm trying not to spill it all over the bench top here. Let's see here. How much have we got? There's a little bit in there that I need to scrape out, but I don't think it's going to amount to much. Okay, so we got 3.34 pounds. All right, or 1,516 grams. So 16 grams. So, okay. So a lot. So we started out with almost exactly 4 pounds. But we have this stuff to weigh too. So let me get this off of here. We'll put this up here. We'll zero out the scale. Okay. So this is the kind of ugly stuff that I got from this extraction with the so we're at 0.325 pounds. I don't know if that's showing up. 0.325 or 148 grams of this ugly stuff. I don't know. I might melt this stuff separately and cast a bar, and if it looks ugly, I might end up melting it down again and corn flaking it and reprocessing it. My new nitric acid supply has arrived, so I can do that if I have to. I don't know. I think I cleaned it up pretty good with the acid boils, but it's still, the crystals are much coarser and darker than this stuff over here, which is very fine and light colored, you know. So I don't know. Maybe there's really nothing wrong with it. I don't know. Like I said, we'll see when I melt it down in the future. So we also got my filter paper here, which has some silver in it. I'll just probably put this in a crucible and burn off the paper and melt down whatever amount of silver's in it, and then just add more silver to the crucible until I've got enough to pour a bar. We'll do that in the future. So, okay, Johnny, we got your silver, so I can make bars out of this stuff, okay? That's great. We've still got to process all of those relay contacts that did not dissolve in nitric acid, and all the gold that I caught on the filters, and all the gold I still see in with those contacts. So I think in the next video we're going to do that. We're going to process that, see how much gold we get out of those contacts. Because it looks like there's a fair amount of gold there. So I think we'll do that. And then we'll see about melting this stuff down. But I think that's going to be another video. So I think I'm going to end it here. Getting this silver together has been a process. I'm a little bit exhausted. I don't mind telling you. It's the most silver I've ever processed at once. So, okay. But stay tuned for the next video where we get the gold from the relay contacts. And it looks like there's a fair amount of it. So, but if you found this video at all interesting, educational, informative, inspirational, whatever, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching this one. Bye.